Hello, and welcome back to the Young Folks' new podcast, Define Conversations on Hollywood and Diversity. I am your host, Gabrielle Bondi, and for our third episode, I'm joined by TYF's film editor, Allison Johnson, and writer, Melissa Byrne. Our goal with Define is to take part in the ongoing discussions on diversity and fair representation in film and television. We hope to deconstruct the new and old by analyzing stereotypes, tropes, and generally bad Hollywood practices to help promote and foster a more diverse landscape in film and TV. Today's episode's theme is the insidious culture of fat shaming, especially in regards to women, that Hollywood has employed in film and TV since the dawn of its existence. From the media frenzy around Renee Zellweger's weight gain for Bridget Jones to Rebel Wilson's character's relentless potty humor in the Pitch Perfect franchise. We hope to scrutinize why there are so little genuine portrayals of plus-size women in media. First, I'd like to preface this conversation by saying that we are not here to discuss the obesity epidemic or health issues. For one, many plus-size actresses aren't even plus size. And the other thing is that a person's health or medical issues is not our business, and we, along with many other people, are not in the position to comment on such matters in any way. Our main discussion question is why plus-size actresses are always the butt of the joke. So first, we're going to be tackling plus-size representation in comedy. And I think when we kind of think of that, the first person who comes to mind is Melissa McCarthy. So what do you guys think about Melissa's work and how she represents plus-size women in her films and television shows?
Do you know what? With Melissa McCarthy, I think it's actually one of the rare instances where she's become so transcendent in her roles that it's not the first thing people see about her. Like, at least in film.
Allie, you went out. Can you repeat what you were saying?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no,
right.
I think she's one of the few plus-size actresses, quotation marks, plus size, whatever, that gets away, that isn't scrutinized as much about it. I feel like she's so good in her roles that people don't view it as such, it's not the first thing that comes to mind, opposed to Rebel Wilson, who I feel like her size is usually the joke. But I think Melissa McCarthy's weight is more scrutinized in the media than films.
That's true.
Yeah, I think Melissa has been able to be successful because she's been able to work consistently, and though I don't think the humor in her films relies so much on her size, because she's been able to transcend that, and people go to watch her movies because they're funny and not because they want to see like a fat girl being made fun of. We've been able to see her do a lot of comedic roles, and I know that we're going to touch up on this later, but I wish we could see her in something different than a comedy.
Yeah, and sorry, just to expand on it a little bit, I guess where I do see her weight kind of made the joke isn't so much a joke as it is how her endings differ in films from a stereotypically thin, pretty actress. Like in Spy, she doesn't get, with spoilers, Jude Law. Whereas in any other film, if it had been Rose Byrne that would have been a sealed deal romance at the end. Yes, is it funny that they don't, and is it kind of nice? Definitely, but it does show.
Sorry, can you repeat? Sorry, can you repeat that again? You went out for a couple seconds.
Yeah.
I'll be editing this, so sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
No. Can you hear me now though? Before?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just saying that
Now you went out again. Sorry.
Really quick. Okay.
All right.
You have an opinion on this.
Okay. Are you able to?
I'm moving. Can you hear me any better now?
Yeah, I could hear you better.
Okay. Sorry guys, I live in a log cabin and there's no Wi-Fi. But yeah, okay, my main point in this was saying that I don't think it's her weight so much that's made as an obvious joke as it is how her storylines end. So where like Rose Byrne would have gotten with Jude Law in Spy, Melissa McCarthy doesn't. And I think it is because of her appearance and what people perceive as like romantic relationships in film. So I think it's more under the radar than like obviously making jokes.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I mean, she kind of was never really known as the fat character, especially if you were familiar with her, back when she started on Gilmore Girls. I mean, Suki was just mostly a friend, an obsessive cook, but, it was never really about her weight. I think her most iconic role, though, is the one in Bridesmaid, which she was nominated for an Oscar. And in that, I feel like I was a little bit more, I guess, offended by her role because in that she's, really kind of depicted as this kind of gross, very aggressive individual and it kind of fell in line with a lot of portrayals of, plus size women in the past.
Yeah, no, I can see that as opposed to others. I guess it's taken time for me to recognize that more just because in the film her humor is so specific, that it's easy to look over that she is sometimes being the butt of the joke. But I agree that the kind of predatory parts of her filming, like especially on the airplane when she's seducing her husband, so to speak, is definitely kind of off-putting. But then she also gets like the best speech in the film when she kind of picks Kristen Wiig's character up at the end.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because, you get these moments where you're like, oh, it's kind of being subversive and going past what you expect, but then it does have the scenes on the plane where they're kind of using her size as the butt of the joke, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think, but like you were saying, how in Rebel Wilson's work, it's a lot more obvious, and I completely agree. I mean, especially with Pitch Perfect, and even in a slightly different way, How to Be Single, she plays this like really overly.
Because I think in How to Be Single, like I saw it and she was funny, but I didn't think that you really used her size as the butt of the joke.
Well, see, I thought it was like in a very kind of more secretive way, in the fact that her being that overly confident, would it have been funny if she wasn't big, if she looked exactly like Dakota Johnson?
Probably not in the way that they wanted it to be, no.
I mean, like the first scene you see her in, she's in a dance club in this glittery dress with this flashing arrow pointing at her. I mean, like, would that have been funny, with someone who was smaller? I mean, I don't think so.
I don't know. I think it also depends on the actress because there's some people who are really funny who maybe could have still made that role a funny part, playing like the best friend that picks up the main character at the end, or actually throughout the film. So maybe.
See, I think the difference is that the writers wouldn't have even gone for that joke if it hadn't been a larger actress. Because to them, there was something funny of, oh, look at this girl who's not typically, stereotypically attractive or whatever. Look at how confident she is. Isn't that hilarious? So I do see that. Hopefully that's not what everybody took, I guess, because that would be really offensive for a lot of people. But, yeah, I can see Gabby's point with that one.
Yeah, I could definitely see your point there too. It's just for me, when I watched it, I didn't feel offended by it. I liked her character, and it was a different turn from her Pitch Perfect days when she did her role in those movies, where I think, it's clearly a lot more obvious that they're making that kind of joke. And in How to Be Single, I thought it was nice to see a different aspect to it.
Well, okay, so like in what ways in Pitch Perfect did you think that it was, a lot of a worse depiction?
Well, I mean, they kind of make, Well, I guess in Pitch Perfect, they make it offensive on purpose. I mean, isn't she? Sorry, I have a stuttering issue. Isn't she known as like, like the fat girl? Like she calls herself fat girl.
Fat
She calls
Amy.
herself Fat Amy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, see, that to me is it's kind of like the filmmakers were racing to like acknowledge their like potential offensive joke before we could, like to kind of negate us being offended. But I think it just didn't work because that's what her character ended up boiling down to, was being somebody called Fat Amy. And making
Right.
fun of her when she's trying to run laps and she stops. So if you had this like physically fit girl who's also plus sized and was making the jokes, I think it would have come off a lot differently than having Rebel Wilson kind of hamming it up for the camera. But
Yeah.
Pitch Perfect is a movie that's grown sour with me over time when I've realized everything wrong with it. So this one just kind of adds to it,
Yeah. I mean, I really did like the first Pitch Perfect, but the second one was just, I mean, it really does leave like a sour taste in your mouth just because it overdoes it with, I mean, not just with Fat Amy, but with other characters. It's too much.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just think it's kind of interesting to like compare their works and how they kind of just choose to represent themselves. Because like, I mean, if you think about it, they're like, two of the most famous plus size actresses in Hollywood. I mean, and I'm not even gonna count like people like Amy Schumer and Mindy Kaling because I don't really think they're plus size, even though
They're not.
But
They're
a lot of
not.
people consider them plus size, and
It's so pathetic and so gross of society in Hollywood to think of those women as plus size.
Well, here's the thing, though, too, is that the fact that, like, we instantly, maybe not you guys, but we instantly think of plus size as, like, kind of a bad term, which it isn't, and we shouldn't think that way, but, like, even when Amy Schumer has defended herself going, like, oh, I'm not plus size, it's like, well, you shouldn't, like, be making fun of people who are plus sized,
yeah.
So it's so interesting. It's such a double-edged sword for actresses who are considered to be it, because, yeah, I don't get Amy Schumer, and I'm like, I mean, I'm like, you can't be that much smaller than I am, and I'm like, this is ridiculous, and it's just like, so it just makes you wonder, like, what would they consider the average person out in the world to be plus size,
I mean,
so it's just ridiculous that anybody over size 6 is like, I don't know, it makes me very angry.
it's so upsetting, and it's like, I mean, even another person is America Ferrera gets brought up, and
What?
she's not, like, especially if you watch her in Superstore lately, I'm like, where?
She's so thin. Maybe like in Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, and that was only because she was up next to like Blake Lively.
Yeah.
Anybody is going to look freaking plus sized, or like what's her face from Gilmore Girls?
Alexis
so, like,
Bledel, yeah.
Yeah. Like, what is she at the most? A size 4? Like, that is absurd. I didn't know she was on the list too.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of going through what I see people like bringing up, because like even growing up, like I remember I used to watch like a lot of Entertainment Tonight as a young person.
Me too.
And I remember when the first Bridget Jones came out, and they made this big fuss over how Renee Zellweger gained weight for this role. And then I was looking at her in the movie, and I'm like, she's not, I mean, it's not that big, it's not that big of a deal. But
what's even worse is that, like, I remember when that stuff first came out of like the pictures of her for the movies, like a lot of people, like including people in my family, were like, she looks so cute, like she looks adorable, she looks so great. And then when she lost weight, people were like, oh, she doesn't look as good anymore. But it's coming from the same people that were like complaining about her gaining weight. So it's like, how does she win in that scenario?
You can't win. You're either too big or you're too skinny.
Yeah, you can never be perfect.
But I know what you mean, because like I see those movies too, and I watched the first one from start to finish for the first time recently, and I was like, she's supposed to be like chubby. This is so depressing.
Yeah, I know.
So yeah, I don't get it. It's so weird.
Mm-hmm. And then, I also kind of, while I was, kind of thinking of the outline for this podcast, what came up to me is actresses in fat suits. Um, you see it with, you kind of see it with Shallow Hal, with Gwyneth Paltrow. Oh my God. And then there's in America's Sweethearts, this like rom-com Julia Roberts did, I think like in the early 00s, and she wore a fat suit. And I remember her on Oprah, and she was discussing, wearing the fat suit and she was comparing the fake breast she wore in the fat suit to her fake breast in Erin Brockovich, and how the Erin Brockovich ones were called like please boobs, like, they were nice, they were pleasing, and the fat suit ones were like please boobs, like they were just so heavy, and it was, I don't know, that always stuck with me, and I was just kind of, curious what your thoughts are on that, because there is like, I think even the Kardashians recently did like dressed up in fat suits and like walked around New York or something.
Yeah, or even Friends with Monica.
Yeah, that's
one of the longest running gags of the show is her in her fat suit. Yeah, I think it's weird. I think it's weird because you never see women, maybe like Charlize Theron for Monster, but that's like a whole different ballpark of a movie. But you don't see women putting on weight much for movies like you do men. Like you always hear of men's weight like yo-yoing, like Christian Bale going from Batman to American Hustle to The Fighter, whereas women only ever seem to be expected to lose weight for films, and then they get a fat suit. So I do think there's this idea that like they can't possibly tarnish their public image, so that if they're in a film that requires a fat suit or to gain weight, they just wear a fat suit,
Yeah.
But I also think it's the idea of like, oh, look at this typically pretty woman in a fat suit, it's like kind of an easy joke.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's like kind of dig into a little bit on Shallow Hal, because that movie is probably I haven't seen it in a very long time.
Neither.
But
it used to be on TV all the time.
Yeah. And I think now it would not play well just because it's so, I guess, shallow. I mean, even though at the end,
yeah,
even at the end where he like kind of redeems himself, it's still, you never see her. It's always Gwyneth Paltrow, and that's the point. You know what I mean?
What do you mean? Like you only see the skinny girl? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Well, at the end, you do see her in the suit.
Yeah.
Like she's well, I guess
because she shows him carrying her
throughout the movie. It's weird because when he's under that spell, he sees her as skinny, but then when he's not around her, then you see Gwyneth Paltrow wearing the suit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I have to revisit that, or maybe not.
No,
I
it's
don't really
still
want
as
to.
offensive as you could possibly think. like, even if there are a couple shots around the fat suit, it's still like abhorrent. Like, don't watch it again. But no, I definitely think it shows that like even if the movie was about her being in a fat suit, they were still afraid of like turning off viewers.
Right.
So they like wanted to make sure Gwyneth Paltrow still looks like Gwyneth Paltrow for the majority of the film.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a studio coming up with a really offensive idea, but kind of chickening out on it a little bit.
Right.
But not for the right reasons.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess this kind of leads into like the rom-com and the kind of like romantic entanglements that quote unquote plus size female characters get on screen. And I have like Bridget Jones, obviously for her it's more of like this dream scenario of having these two very good looking but different guys fight over you, which
in every movie.
Yeah, in all three movies. I mean,
all three movies.
she is, I mean, she's lucky. So, I mean, and almost kind of the same thing with Mindy Kaling. She kind of, in her show, The Mindy Project, she dreams up these, she has so many, like, romantic entanglements throughout that show. Like, I've lost track. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're all funny, but it's just...
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, you only really see it with these kind of characters, or even Amy Schumer with Trainwreck, which I have to admit was adorable because of Bill Hader. But
Yeah. Hard ice. Yeah, I adore. Sorry, you just like lost me for a second when you mentioned Bill Hader and Trainwreck.
only reason to watch people. Okay, and then but yeah, I mean, but like kind of what you said earlier about Melissa McCarthy, you know, not getting with Jude Law in. I mean, yeah, she gets with Jason Statham. That was more of like a joke than anything kind of like legitimately romantic.
And
Yeah.
especially because Jude Law and Melissa McCarthy in that movie had really sweet chemistry. Like, he kind of, I mean, I'm such a sucker, but like, I totally wanted them to get together in the end, you know? I was just rooting for it by the time it came up, so I was disappointed because it, like, while it felt like a nice, in a sense, was it a progressive move because they didn't end in romance and they ended with two female friends walking off to the sunset together? Yeah, that was pretty sweet. On the other hand, again, it would never have happened if, like, Kristen Wiig or Rose Byrne had been in the role.
Yeah, I mean, I like that we do get to see like a small variety of romantic situations, kind of like with the Bridget Jones movies and the Amy Schumer movie. But I think there definitely needs to be more. There should be a higher variety of different plus size actresses, quote unquote, playing them. Most of the time, the romantic lead in a romantic comedy where they do end up together is a skinny white woman. But we have actresses, you know, like Amber Riley and Dasha Polanco from Orange is the New Black, and Beanie Feldstein from Neighbors 2, who I loved in that movie. And Hollywood should be knocking on their doors too. And there's a very interesting quote from Kerry Washington when she was talking about why she took on the role of Brumhilde from Django Unchained, because she does play a woman who has to be rescued by a man, but at the same time, how many times do you get to see a black woman be the desire of a man in a romantic way in a movie? You don't see that very often. It's always the same characters. It's like a pretty blonde or brunette white woman. So I have a secret soft spot for rom-coms. I do. So
I don't have a secret. I love them.
So it would be really nice to see more women of color and also plus size actresses to be that object of desire for their romantic interests in the movies.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. It's sad just the lack of diversity when it comes to the female love interests. I mean,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's astounding, and it, you know what, like personally feels like it's such a big deal to Hollywood. It's such a big risk for them to take, for them to pair, a plus size woman with a, maybe thin man or a handsome actor or whatever. And, I'm trying to, think of when we ever watched that, but we haven't. And I mean, you do get a lot of like more of the, I guess, plus size actors who end up with skinnier, model like women. Case in point, Knocked Up with Seth Rogen. Super Bad with, Jonah Hill and Emma Stone.
Emma Stone, yeah.
And it's like, okay, and no one blinks an eye at that. It's sweet, it's cute, but I think you have to look at who's writing these stories. It's these guys who want that for themselves. Yeah, it's wish fulfillment. And I think maybe, again, this comes back to having, more women write comedy and producers, women producers taking chances on different kinds of stories about different types of women.
Definitely. It also depends on what's going on behind the scenes as well. Like you said, it depends on who's writing them and also who's directing them as well.
Right. And I mean, Bridget Jones, I think, that's such like it's why it's so loved, I think, too, by a lot of people. I mean, with the exception of the second one, which we can all agree is a disaster of a film. But I mean, the first is so loved because it is like the ultimate wish fulfillment in a way. Yeah. For, to have someone like Hugh Grant, who's like a dashing devil, and then someone like, Mr. Darcy, who's, prim proper, but very, has this hidden passion inside of him. So it's like, and then to be, I mean, I guess my only other problem with Bridget Jones was that she was a bit too ditzy of a character, and I felt like they really kind of made her, I don't know, dumb her down is the right word, because especially in the new film Bridget Jones's Baby, I feel like she's matured a lot and she's a lot more grounded. I mean, she still makes mistakes, but um that was probably my only problem with her as a character. But I mean, other than that, I mean, she is relatable in the way that, you know, her life isn't perfect. It's kind of messy. You know, you do stupid things.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think that's why people like, you know, that kind of character. And even, like, I relate to, like, Mindy Kaling to an extent on the Mindy Project, because I do think she is a little bit of, can be like a bit of a caricature, but it works, you know.
I've been really interested in, because I know this is ridiculous because she's not plus sized, but she's been talking about like having issues with fitting the Hollywood model of size. But Gina Rodriguez has been talking a lot about her struggle of like weight management. Yeah, I know. Well, it's because she has Hashimoto's, which slows down your metabolism. So, and I've had something similar. So, like, hearing her talk out and loud about this kind of thing is so interesting because it is like in Hollywood, even though she's small, there's no denying that she's a small person. But it's like, how do you get around something that's like actively forcing your metabolism to slow in a business where that could wreck your career? As sad as that is. So I've been really interested in hearing that because I look at her, I'm like, you are teeny tiny. But it's like, how much effort is going into these people's lives, you know, to keep that up. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I look at her and I look at Mindy Kaling and whatnot, and I look at them and I'm like, there is nothing, like they should be getting all these romantic comedy leads. And
I know. And it's, you know, I always thought, like growing up, I always thought, how is it that so many actors are so fit and they're so skinny?
Because they're rich.
They get to be in all kinds of films, right? And it always kind of let me down. Well, it's like, well, how does a person who doesn't fit that mold, how do you even get started? How do you even go through that door to even get an audition? Because everybody is skinny. Nobody eats. Everyone's just a size 00. I'm sorry. I'm just rambling now.
Yeah.
It's a topic that, like, I feel like a lot of people, especially a lot of women, can relate to, especially when we've grown up with movies and seeing all these really glamorous, thin women and kind of expecting it to be the norm. Mm-hmm. And I feel like if we, you know, it's like anything, movies represent life, media represents life, and if we saw more diversity in, you know, those shapes and sizes of women on film, I can't imagine that being anything but a positive in terms of, like, reflecting on society. Like, you know, if you see somebody who looks like you're going to be happier. You're going to feel like you're not alone. That's, like, the best aspect of storytelling is relating. And I think it could be such an easy fix. And, like, there's really no reason why, except for the fact that Hollywood by nature is a shallow industry. You know? I mean, and it's like they're not just selling their films. They're selling their ads, and they're selling their publicity, and they're selling magazines. And so it just kind of boils down to this ridiculous, shallow, corrupt nature of Hollywood that does so many things I love.
Definitely. It's a super vain industry.
So I guess kind of moving on, one thing I noticed is that there are a lot less, it seems like there's a lot less plus size actresses in dramas, or at least playing the leads in dramas.
Definitely.
You know, I mean, movies that come to mind are Precious, with Gabrielle Sidibe, Orange is the New Black, which is kind of like a dramedy, but it features like a large cast of different types of women of all shapes and sizes. And the new show on NBC, This Is Us, has one of the main characters is obese, and and that is, you know, a main part of her story. But at the same rate, it's done in a really nice and kind of refreshing way that, you know, that you never really get to see these people like tackle their problems like outside of documentaries or anything else. And you're seeing this character kind of trying to, like, you know, confront her own problems and work through them.
Yeah. No, I'm trying to think, and I guess I can't think of any that are in lead performances either, at least in drama. Like, I feel like the closest, and again, she's not plus size, but the actress has talked about her struggles because she doesn't fit a picture perfect role, is the actress who plays Lindsay on You're the Worst.
Oh yeah.
Who's like a knockout. Like, there has not been an actress on TV that my boyfriend has had a bigger crush on ever. Like, it's just like a stupid grin on his face the entire time. And like, and she's gorgeous, and I think she's been pigeonholed, I think, a little bit because she's not like as thin as Aya Cash, the lead in You're the Worst. But I think she's an actress who gets to explore a little bit further than comedy. But again, she's a supporting character. So you're right. Like, I'm trying to think now of just like leads in TV shows, and I can't think of any. At least, and we're just thinking drama right now too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for drama, and that's something that I've always noticed, that a lot of actresses who are of a certain size, they always get a lot more comedic roles, and I wonder if that's because do they think, like the producers, do they think that it's because that makes them a lot more relatable, like being the awkward, funny girl who's, not perfect, who's like chubby? I don't know.
I think it's because they assume that there will be more laughs if they don't look like a picture perfect girl. Unfortunately, I don't think that should be the case, but I think that's definitely what's going through their minds.
Yeah, like in a way, it kind of adds to the joke, and it sucks, and I hate being like that pessimistic and kind of to take away from a comedian's work just because I'm not trying to do that at all. I'm just saying that I think when it comes to casting, that's what happens. And with dramas, I mean, no one wants to see a fat person or a plus size person deal with something dramatic, something that isn't gonna be funny and entertain them. It's kind of like in the movies or in TV, people want to forget that plus size people exist. They want just this pretty universe of perfect people,
and like an easily digestible pretty universe.
Right. Exactly. And again, like you were saying, it's not real. People respond to stuff that reflects their reality, and their experiences, and you got to understand that most women I think the average size is like a 14 in America, which is a pretty like decent size, but what's the average size in Hollywood? Like a 2. So for women,
because it's whatever the run like off the rack style is, like it's whatever's been made.
Yeah.
So it's ridiculous. It's like, it's so sad that the fact that I was watching I saw a movie at TIFF recently with Anne Hathaway, and she she's not big, but she had like thighs. And I was watching it and I was like, oh, that's so nice to see somebody who like doesn't have stick legs. And I was like, that's so gross, and I'm so happy about that. Because it's like she's still so thin, but I was like, well, look, she has thighs too. I feel better about myself.
I'm the same way. Like, I will look at somebody's thighs, like, oh, okay, she's got thighs that kind of look like mine. I'm proud of that.
Well, it's an easy identifier too, Yeah. But yeah, no, so it's just like, that kind of makes me sad. That's when I realize kind of how far the Hollywood image has reached out and tainted us a little bit. And it makes me want more plus size actresses in dramas, because maybe I wouldn't be so shocked when I see, or not shocked, but like happy when I see somebody who looks a little closer to me. And so yeah, it's an interesting kind of struggle we're in right now, because I don't see Hollywood changing this one easily. But maybe I'm just pessimistic.
I mean, I don't see it either, because I feel, like I said, like I always feel like I see just so many more skinny people on screen, and I feel like actors also feel that pressure. So they have what they need to do. They go to the gym, they have nutritionists, they have chefs, because their jobs literally depend on it, and that's so sad.
I mean, if I had that, it's sad, but it's also like lucky them for having chefs and trainers and stuff because it's
Yeah,
their
but I mean,
job.
I don't care who you are. Like, do you really love going to the gym 9 hours a day? No.
If somebody paid for me to go to the gym 9 hours a day and that's all I had to do with my day, absolutely. If
I
had a
don't think
big
so.
job
I
on top of
absolutely, I do it, but I absolutely hate working out. I do.
I hate working out in public. Private gym, sign me up.
Oh, I know. And I think that's also, I mean, I think that's part of it, though, is that, you know, people are very judgmental. And that's kind of why I preface this conversation with kind of like, it's, you know, people's medical issues are none of your business.
Yeah.
Because, like, I mean, people do that. And I think a lot of people hide behind that excuse. Well, it's not healthy. It's not, you know, they have a problem. And it's like, okay, are you a doctor? Like, no, probably not. I mean, who are you to judge someone in this way about, you know, I mean, for a lot of people, obesity is a disease. It's a very, and it's a hard one to deal with. So, like, yeah, I mean, and it's, again, yeah, it's like people are so judgmental. That's why, like, no one wants to go to the gym and, like, have people see you sweaty and struggling.
When that's like the only form you should be in if you're at the gym.
Right.
And I think also maybe that's possibly why we don't see a lot of actresses who are plus size going out for dramatic roles. Is the confidence. Maybe they're lacking the confidence of, I don't know, because it's hard going into a room full of execs and they're expecting a certain look, but then you're coming in thinking, hey, I'm a size 12, but I'm still going to be here and going to do my monologue for you guys. So, I mean, at least for me, that would be like a major issue. It would be the confidence.
I mean, that's almost better than the alternative, but I genuinely just think they're not getting offered the roles in the first place, which is, I think, the root of the problem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, nobody can tell me that Melissa McCarthy doesn't have the confidence to go bust out an amazing dramatic monologue. Like, she was amazing in Spy in both the comedic and more dramatic elements, and I think she could be terrific in anything.
Yeah, I mean,
but I don't think she's being offered the same roles as, like, I don't know, even Kristen Wiig. Let's like take her co-star in Ghostbusters. Like, even Kristen Wiig is being offered more interesting, dramatic roles with things like the Skeleton Twins and Welcome to Me, and I think Melissa McCarthy could have done either just as well, if not better, in all honesty. And I like Kristen Wiig.
Yeah, so I was just saying for like up and coming actresses. I mean, of course, because we've already talked about how Melissa is able to transcend this whole, you know, plus size actress thing, because she's able to make movies that are not about her weight. So, but she's really right now like the only person right now that I can think of who's, you know, really successful and really famous and doing well in the comedic world. I'm just saying for like a variety of actresses who are also, you know, chubby brown girls who look like me, probably have a hard time coming up with, you know, the kind of guts to go up and do what they want to do.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think, do you guys have anything more to add about it, or should we move on to the segments?
We can move on.
Okay. So our first segment is shame, shame, shame in the spirit of Game of Thrones. And so this is when we kind of share what we think is like kind of the worst recent either whitewashing or bad example of diversity that you've read or seen in the past few weeks.
Okay. So I have one that I can think of right now, and even though I really like this actress, and I think she's gonna do amazing in that role, and I'm already hearing some Oscar stuff going on, and I'm excited to watch it. I'm still gonna go see it, but I did learn that Emily Blunt's character in that book, The Girl on the Train, is supposed to be an overweight person. She's supposed to be like a chubby chick, but they did not cast a girl who is a chubby chick. They casted Emily Blunt. So I thought that was interesting.
You know what? I have the book. I haven't read it yet, but I'm not surprised at all that they did that, because there was no way that they were gonna.
Yeah, they're not gonna cast an overweight, puffy-faced, alcoholic actress. I mean, not real alcoholic. I mean, playing alcoholic, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was disappointed when I learned about that because I was excited to watch the movie. I mean, I still am because it looks very like Gone Girl-ish. I'm still gonna go see it, but I'm gonna have that in mind. Like, this could have gone to probably somebody else who missed out on another opportunity.
Yeah, that totally sucks. I mean, yeah, there was no way. Like, I mean, kind of circling back to our like how pessimistic we feel about Hollywood ever changing. There was no way that they were gonna try to sell that movie on a plus size actress.
Yeah.
So it's sad.
Mm-hmm.
Allie, do you have one?
Yeah, I'm kind of gonna go broad with this one, because I saw like an ad for Kevin Can Wait over the weekend, and his face makes me mad, and I feel like he's representative of the whole sitcom thing where like ugly, overweight guy gets a thin wife, and I'm kind of sick of this trend still going on into 2016. It would not matter if they did the same thing with the gender switched, but it's because that they do it just with the guys getting these impossibly hot women as their wives that kind of just it's gotten so old that I can't even bring myself to watch the shows usually because I'm just like, this is exhausting. Like, again, if like a chubbier, less conventionally attractive woman got like John Hamm as a husband or whatever, I would be like thrilled because finally we're getting the opposite. But yeah, so that's mine. It's kind of a broad take, but again, with Kevin Can Wait coming out, I'm just like, ugh.
You know what? I'm blanking right now. I'm sure there's like a bunch of awful stuff that's gone on, and maybe I haven't been paying attention the past few weeks. But yeah, I mean, I guess one thing that I remembered, it isn't recent, but you kind of reminded me about it, Melissa, was the Duff, what that teen movie that came out earlier last year.
Yeah.
It starred what's her name?
I forgot her name. Damn.
Mae Whitman.
Yes, Mae
There
Whitman.
we go. Okay.
And I've read that book, and the book is hilarious. I thought it was, the movie does something completely different, but
Of course.
but yeah, in the book, she's big, and Mae Whitman is small.
Little.
She's really skinny. I mean, I like really. When I saw the movie, I'm like, whoa! I didn't
really. Yeah.
Like, that girl would never have trouble getting with anybody.
Yeah,
I mean, nonsense.
But I mean, it's like that conception too. Like, not all big girls have trouble getting a guy. Even, I mean, it's really
true. But like, she's supposed to have trouble getting with a guy, isn't it? Like, isn't that the point of the book or the movie? Is that like,
well,
she's a designated ugly friend or something?
Yeah, she gets
I haven't
called
seen
that.
it, so I'm kind of going on the synopsis.
Yeah, she gets called that, and it kind of messes with her self-esteem to an extent, but basically the main thing is that she likes one guy Toby, and then she ends up in the movie turned it into a My Fair Lady thing where the hot guy gives her a makeover and teaches her how to be like a hot girl.
Oh my god, so when she takes off her glasses and she's beautiful, I hate this.
I hate that trope.
But the book, I mean, what happens is that she ends up sleeping with the hot popular guy, and they end up like kind of hooking up, on the side, and she's just doing it because it makes her feel good, but not necessarily because she has emotional connection to him, and he doesn't really help her with anything, like, other than eventually they do fall in love at the end. But yeah, it's kind of different. They would never have done that in the movie because, God forbid,
that's disappointing.
A teen girl uses sex, for her own personal gain, but fine. Okay, so our next segment is the TYF Spectrum Award. And this is kind of where we name individual or studio or whatever who've made a huge stride recently when it comes to inclusion and fair representation in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
So do you guys have...
I have one, and that was when they announced Zendaya is going to be MJ in the new Spider-Man movie.
I feel like we've talked about this before.
Didn't we?
Have
Or
we?
maybe, well, I think we talked about it, but
Spider-Man.
We talked about Spider-Man in the first episode and the second episode, but I don't think I mentioned Zendaya in this.
well, I think between now and then we learned that she's actually going to play Mary Jane, because before we didn't know.
Yeah, we didn't know.
So yeah, I mean, I guess Marvel's trying to be a little bit more progressive.
Yeah, and it goes back to what I was talking about when Kerry Washington had mentioned that you don't really see women of color as the object of desire. You know, it's a girlfriend role, but how many times do you see a girl who is black as the guy being, you know, sorry, I'm still not articulate, as the girl being chased by the guy. So
well, it's also the fact that she's playing Mary Jane Watson, who is one of the most coveted like female characters in the Marvel universe. So it's like she's supposed to be like she's the it girl. So I think that makes it even better than just playing the girlfriend to Spider-Man. It's that she's playing like this really historically relevant character too. Yeah, I'm super excited about that.
Allie, do you have one?
Can I clarify? Am I talking about like studios and stuff that have been made great lengths in like plus-sized actress roles, or just in general?
Oh, in general.
The Wrinkle in Time casting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's my second one.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's been amazing in a way that kind of went under the radar, and then they like announced the lead girl, and all of a sudden you put it all together. Like, this is a pretty amazing production that they're putting together, and I really can't wait to see how it turns out. I think the talent on board is remarkable, and I think it's showing how you be progressive in 2016. So
I have a good feeling that movie's going to be a huge hit. Like,
yeah,
I just feel it. So yeah, I'm excited for that too. I guess an individual that I kind of wanted to point out, just because he has 2 movies coming out that kind of really tackle kind of diverse stories and race relations and all that, and that's David Oyelowo. Oh my God.
Oyelowo.
Oyelowo. David Oyelowo.
First time I've ever got the name right. Just like across all podcast boards.
I usually like know how to pronounce his name, but then all of a sudden I'm like, I'm on air, so I'm gonna mess up.
She usually has to correct me on every name ever. So sorry, I'm just really proud of myself for a second. Continue.
So thank you, but yeah, because he is in Queen of Catway, which is a really great movie, and definitely see it at the end of September. And he's in a United Kingdom, which I've heard great things about. And I think I've kind of like sort of been kind of reading up on him lately and just seeing what he has to say about being in these movies. And it's just, you know, the way he expresses himself and about why he chooses these projects and why he's so supportive of them is like amazing. And I definitely think we need more actors like that who not only are just taking these roles just for their own personal well-being and their own kind of like portfolio or whatever, but it's also to help other people, to help the industry and the people who watch the movies.
It's also interesting to note that maybe like put aside A Most Violent Year, his last 5 films have all been directed by women.
Yes, he mentioned that today. Because I had a press day with him earlier, and he talked about how he's worked with a lot of female directors, but he hates that it's always a talking point in every interview that he does. Like, it shouldn't be remarkable that there's female directors working out there.
It shouldn't be, but it's really something that I find worth celebrating, since there's so many actors out there who have never worked with a female director, period. Mm-hmm. So it's worth celebrating him, less worth celebrating how surprising it is. You know?
Yeah, I think it's cool if we kind of, I mean, Hollywood, us, whoever, Hollywood, yes, kind of strives towards, you know, not making it a remarkable thing. But yeah, he's worked with a lot of female directors.
Yep, so he gets my TYF Spectrum Award. Our next segment is in all caps, support these artists, where we kind of name a show or movie or, specific person. I guess mostly a show or movie that we would recommend someone to watch that follows these inclusive values.
Yeah, everybody needs to go watch Queen of Catway. It was so good. It was
really
so
is.
good. It's so good. It's so inspiring. It makes you feel all the feels. And I'm really excited that this movie, it uses, because all those kids are not actors. They are from that place. They're from Uganda. So I'm hyped that it was actually filmed there and you see actual black actors in Africa and it's not a slave movie. And I really think it's really great. It's really great for the industry, for the audience. I'm so happy that it's a Disney film, so hopefully a lot of people do see it. So I encourage everyone to go out and see it because it needs the support. It needs the legs. And I also am a fan of Superstore with America Ferrera. It's funny. She's so charming in it, and it's a really good group of people that make the show funny as well. I'm excited for the season to come back next week. So yeah, those are my picks.
Yay. Those are good ones.
Thank you.
I want to go with This Is Us.
That's a good one too.
Because I'm still kind of like over the moon. But and mainly just because they're actually putting a plus size actress in a leading role. And it's not a comedic role. So it's like a small step forward, but it's enough of one that like I'm excited to watch each week live and support. Because I want more of it, and I think seeing that kind of story in a very like populist type TV show, like a very parenthood type TV show, I think could only mean good things because it's like it's probably going to build a big audience, and all it will do is like help make people used to the idea of, God forbid, a plus size actress leading a TV show.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely true, and I think also with Sterling K. Brown playing how his character connects to everyone else. And imagine, I mean, I don't want to spoil it for anyone because the way this pilot is constructed,
we're not allowed to.
It's so well done. If you just don't know, just watch it.
Yes.
And but the way I think, I definitely think that there's going to be a lot of layers to this show, and the expectations are high after that pilot. It was excellent.
Cool.
My show that I'm gonna share is Mr. Robot, who is written and directed by Sam Ismail, who is Egyptian, and he has an Egyptian. Sorry, guys, I cannot speak today too. Egyptian lead actor with Rami Malek, who is fantastic as Elliot.
Yes.
And I mean, it's generally like a pretty kind of diverse cast, a diverse kind of group of people. It's a strange. I mean, I always say it's like a strange show because I mean it's trippy. I never know what to expect. And it kind of has all these different types of characters, and I definitely think it's really one of the better shows on TV right now.
I watched the first episode of season 1 so far, and I haven't continued yet because it's a show that I feel like I really need to invest my time and focus, and I want to give it that time and focus, and I haven't been really focused lately. I've said focus way too many times. But I really liked what I saw. I think Remy's really great in the role. He's so good in it, and I love the tone. I love the music, and I didn't know the showrunner. I didn't know that fact, so that gets me, even more hyped and excited for it, and I'm happy that it's getting the attention that it's getting with the Emmys and stuff. So, good pick.
Yeah, I mean, even he pulled like a True Detective kind of thing where he directed and wrote every single episode of season 2. So he really he took this. I mean, it's all him. It's all him.
That's awesome.
Okay, so I'm gonna conclude this. Thanks for listening. Join us in the discussion on fat shaming culture by following us on Twitter and tweeting at us. We want to hear your thoughts. I'm at Gabriella Dell.
And I'm at your girl Melbourne, and Burn is spelled Berne.
I'm at Allison AJ. It's really simple.
Next one's theme is called Storyfy. We'll be highlighting films and shows like Moonlight, Queen of Catway, and Master of None that tell different kinds of stories that are based on Hollywood's offerings you wouldn't expect. For entertainment reviews and news, please visit theyoungfolks.com. Follow us at TYF Official on Twitter and like The Young Folks on Facebook. The Find is available on iTunes, Google Play, Pocket Cast, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Shout Engine. Thanks again and see you next time on Define.
Bye.
Bye.